Right, ladies, welcome to my first video tutorial. Thank you very much to everybody that responded to my WhatsApp message this morning. It's very interesting to see what everybody would like to do. One of the biggest, the most response was that you would like more mixed media, step-for-step classes. So I think we're going to start off with the basics. I think it's important that you need to learn to start at the beginning and work our way up to the end, because everybody's at a different level. And even though this is back to basics, I love going back to basics because you always learn something new. You can never just know everything. It's important to always go and start at the beginning. Sometimes just starting with the basic things is what you need to get inspired. I could have easily started off with more intricate, involved kind of tutorial, but I'm scared that puts a lot of people off, because some of us don't know where to start. And I think the most responses were, help me create better. So we're going to take it right back to basics. Today we're going to start with learning to blend. I think over the next couple of tutorials we'll work on blendability, and we'll improve our ink blending skills. So for today's tutorial, you're going to need a blending tool and some foams. You don't have to have one per ink, it's just easier for me. You can have one tool and different blending foams, just change them. You'll need some water and a spritzer. You'll need a heat tool, and then you'll need mixed media surface to work on. I'm working with the Tim Holtz tags. I like to work on these to practice with. It's big enough, it's just big enough and just small enough to get the techniques right. Okay, you can choose any kind of surface to work on as long as it can take water and ink. You'll also need something to mop up your water and your inks. Okay. So let's get started. Choose 3, 4, 5 colors if you like, 2 colors if you like, of distress inks or any kind of inks that you have on hand. These techniques will work with whatever you have, as long as you understand the characteristics and properties of your inks. There, you can do this technique. Okay, we'll use the brown just to go around the edges at a later stage. Okay, before I start, we're going to create a tag like this, where we use some water to spritz and flick to create the little water flecks. But what I'm going to try and show you is how to blend your inks so that they don't make harsh lines, and that you're able to get a nice smooth transition from color to color. I've chosen colors that mix well, so your red and blue will create purple. Red and yellow will create orange, blue and yellow will create green. So none of these really will create too much brown, hopefully. Okay, something I've found that works really well for me is because I don't want to have to always stop what I'm doing to pick up ink and then go and hold my pad, and I want to hold my surface in hand. I find if you put your ink pad so that it catches the surface of the glass media mat, and this works on the cutting mats as well, so you can just put that at the bottom with your craft mat on top, and you can pick your ink up. If your ink pad is well used like mine, you'll need to really ink up your sponge, but if it's quite a new pad like this one, you just need to tap it out to get some ink on. I like to keep my pads open while I'm using them. So what you need to do is pick up your ink, and we're going to begin by starting at an angle. So you hold your blending tool at an angle and start making circles off the surface and slowly work your way onto the surface. Okay? So the idea, let me just get this really inked up, is to start off work in circles, little circles, slowly. I'm going to do it slowly so that you can get the idea of how I'm working. You can see that the whole time I'm keeping it at an angle, and I'm using this part of the sponge to apply the ink. Only once I have that first layer of ink on, I'll still come on to the surface at an angle, and once I'm comfortable, drop it down so that it's flat. Do you see? Now that I have ink, that first layer of ink on, I can come in flat. I never start directly on my surface. I will always start from the outside and work my way in. Okay, so you'll keep applying color until you have the intensity that you're happy with. Okay, for me it's a little bit light over here, so I'm going to keep adding ink. It is hard for me to apply pressure with it like this, so I will often put my finger on top of the blending tool and apply pressure here. This just holds, this part holds it, so I'm not using this to put pressure. I'm only using this top, and this I'm just holding the tool in place. And my finger on the top lets me add or take away pressure as I need. Okay, so there's my first layer of color on. I always work out of all of them, the darkest color will always go on last. So in this case for me, my blue is my darkest color. The colors I've opted to use are fired brick, faded jeans, and fossilized amber. Loading up some fossilized amber, and the same rules will apply. We will start off the mat and slowly work your way onto the surface. You can see I'm still holding my blending tool at an angle and using this lower part and using that to sneak basically onto the surface a little bit at a time until there's enough ink on the surface for me to be able to drop my blending tool flat. Okay. A nice angle. So it's at an angle, it is a slow I'm happy. I can take it flat and really work it in. You'll see here where I go over the red, the little bit of orange is being created. It's not a deep orange, but it is there. Okay, I'll go back and pick up some of the fired brick and take it over that to blend it out, so that there isn't a harsh line being created. The two colors are happy to blend together. Do you see that? No line. Right, so the next color we're going to add is faded jeans. We will again, you have to excuse the dogs barking in the background. It's that time of the night. Right, so holding it at an angle and working from the mat onto the surface, slowly inching your way onto the tag, creating that first layer of ink. Once you are happy with the amount of that first layer, that there's enough ink on there, you can drop it so that it's flat. And work it in. You can hear Shikita crying in the background. She wants to come in. Okay, so now you can see I've made a little smudgy here. It's very easy to be able to blend it out. Okay, I'm going to bring the blue up into this red. There we go. But you can see what's happened is we have those harsh lines that have been created, which is something we actually don't want. Well, for me, I want it to look that it's nice and blended and smooth inside there. So the only way to fix that now is to pick up with your yellow, and we're going to work over the blue to blend it out. You can see that. And we'll pick up some of the faded jeans and take it over to blend it out until we've got a nice soft mix of colors with no harsh line. So now we need to fix this up here. So again, we'll pick up some of fired brick. We'll take the fired brick over the faded jeans and keep working it. You can already see that it's starting to blend out that line a bit. Okay. And we'll do a little bit of the faded jeans over the fired brick just to tie it in nicely. Okay, and you can see there's a little bit of a harsh line there, so we'll fix that up with the fossilized amber. Okay, so we can now bring a little bit of this, the yellow fossilized amber, onto this side of your tag just to balance it out a little bit. And we'll put a little bit more fired brick. So you'll keep going and you'll get a sense of how it needs to look and how it needs to feel as you go. And you could see there's just too much red. We need to bring in a little bit of orange over there. Okay, we can even bring in a little bit of green over here so we can do the corner. But then over that, add your faded jeans and then a little bit of yellow again. You see? Okay. Right, so quite happy with the way that's turned out. We'll close up our distress inks. Clean off your mat. Right, so we were able to get the colors to blend quite nicely with the blending tools. As you know, distress inks are reactive. They are water reactive. So if we take the sprayer and we mist the tag lightly, okay, you can see how the ink is already starting to react with that. So we can start to dry this. You can see where the little water droplets are forming. What is really, really nice about this tool is that you can control how much water spits out. So I would like another little water droplet over there, so, and a little bit bigger, so I can add my own little droplets. A little bit extra here and there. Okay, so now let's just heat this a little bit longer. You can go in with your paper towel or cotton cloth and you can just blot up the water and you'll see when you pick it up what you get. Very nice. Okay. You might want, if you don't have one of these tools, you can just put some water in your hand like that and flick it on. Okay. Let's just get this dry. Put water everywhere. There we go. So we can heat this now. And the same thing, you can go in and blot off the excess water. And that is nice and dry. If you feel that having sprayed it, set it with the water, that here and there your color needs to just be a little bit more intense, you can always go back in and add. I wouldn't redo the whole tag, but just a little bit of color here and there. Like I would do the two opposites. The yellow for me is intense enough. Just add a little bit. Do you see? So that's just pop the color a little bit that you lost when you apply the water. Right. Let's get this nice and clean. Okay, so that in itself, you can leave it like that if you're happy. But I find applying the brown around the edges just pops your tag, your background a little bit. So you don't always have to use brown. You can use black. You can go around this with faded jeans if you want to. I've opted to go with the brown. So the same thing, you're going to load up your ink pad. Use your ink pad to load up your foam blending tool. And again, you're going to work at an angle. You're not going to go on this flat because you're going to get brown everywhere. You're going to use the bottom half of this, and you're really just going to work, catch the edges of your surface with the sponge. You're not taking it over. You're not trying to get color right across the surface. You're just working to catch the edges of your surface. It is also circular motion. You are also holding the blending tool at a 45-degree angle, and that way you can actually see where you're inking. And if we take it slow, you can see that I'm just catching the edges of my surface. Do you see how easy it is to pick up ink as opposed to stopping, going, stopping, going? I'm able to hold my tag in place and load up ink a little bit more often just by using the mat as my as a third hand. How often do we need a third hand when we are creating? Something to hold, stick, and glue. Okay. So what I want to do now is I just want to bring a little bit of color into the corner, a little bit of the brown, just to grunge it up a little bit, so not too much. I'll play with that, and I haven't got it on dark enough here, so we'll play with that as well. Okay, so there you have it. I hope you're going to give it a try, and I'd like to see what you do, so hopefully you'll post some of your experimental blending projects. Share your pictures with me on WhatsApp. If you'd like to be part of our WhatsApp broadcast group, you can send an email to sales@scrapworks.co.za. Ladies, I suggest this takes practice. You need to spend time blending. Practice, practice, practice. Choose a variety of colors. You are not limited to 3 colors. You can use all the colors you have. My suggestion is play with the different color combinations, see what works, what doesn't work. I mean, you can't exactly use pink and brown because the brown will overpower the pink. So think about it. If you have a color wheel, work from your color wheel, because that'll give you a really good idea of what you can and can't use. But I think going forward, it is essential that you learn to blend. Even if you are just struggling with, you don't need to do all the colors, you can learn with one color to get a nice, fluid, smooth transition of getting your ink onto the surface without any harsh lines or blobs of color. You need to learn to work them out. Okay, so good luck, have fun, and hopefully we'll be doing a few more of these in the future.